All right, and welcome back to the forecast card. Not a great day, not a bad day. 3-2. Um, yeah, nothing really too much to write home about. Wasn't a lot to choose from, so 3-2. Considering the fact that I kind of forced a couple plays, I can't be too mad at it. First five over in the Guardians game, pretty sweat free. I think we get 4-1 in like the third inning, which is kind of crazy considering I think the under 7.5 for the full game actually ended up hitting. So picked definitely the right half of the game there. Royals Twins under. I think it ends being 3-2. Pretty sweat free. Like every game, there's always that one inning where the bases get loaded. This was I think the top of the eighth. Like Philly, only one run comes through. So that was nice. Over 10.5 in the Rockies game. I even mentioned this. I was kind of worried that the Brewers had kind of blew their load a little bit. Rockies get 7 runs. All we needed was four from the Brewers. I think they had loaded twice with no outs, and they only got one run out of all of those opportunities. So pretty unlucky there. Really expected them to at least get a couple more through, but no home runs or anything. I think only one solo home run, but wasn't enough clearly. Ends at 9. And the Jays, Boston. Yeah, over 9. It really was free to take the under. I read into the line a little bit too much, expecting them to expect something more. Walker Bueller ends up going like 6 scoreless innings. Same with Bassett. I think he only gives up a couple runs, maybe only like one run. So both starting pitchers played well. Again, these offenses just not it lately. Felt like there was some hope early. I think the Jays had like two guys on, and the Red Sox had two guys on, but then their offenses just kind of went back to irrelevancy. Almost had a chance at overtime. Uh, if Boston hit a grand slam at the end of the game instead of the stupid error one run coming in, or if we just kept getting overtime innings, this game could have been very different. But unfortunately, it doesn't kind of backdoor for us. Total ends at 7. And the first five under in the Braves Philly game, honestly, pretty sweaty. Both of these pitchers were giving up a lot of singles and uh, not at all what I was expecting from these aces. Obviously, sometimes being an ace doesn't mean you don't give up a lot of hits. It just means that you are able to get out of shitty situations. Quite a few double plays, ground balls, easy pop ups. So, despite the fact I think there was 10 left on base in the first five, yeah, pretty. I'm not gonna say it's sweat free, but ended up being the right side, which is awesome. But yeah, 3-2 on the day. Let's get into the big slate for Friday. I like 8 sides, money lines, whatever. Quite a few also that I liked, but I wanted to be a little selective. There's always the first game of road trips. You have a lot of different angles to approach baseball. Yeah, there's still a game going on right now. It's 12:20 as I'm recording this, so we'll see what ends up happening in that game. But fading the Braves and Phillies tomorrow morning, or early on in those games, might be a good angle if that's what someone's looking for. So yeah, let's get into each of the games. All right, heading on to game number 1. We have the Royals heading on the road to play the Guardians. This is going to be a good game. Bubik's obviously been extremely good to start off the year. Back to back 8 strikeout games. Only given up one, or sorry, 0 earned runs. He's only given up one run unearned. Uh, Under one whip. Again, he's played the Orioles and the Brewers. They haven't necessarily been the hottest teams, but they're still on paper elite batters with some elite talent. So um, he's looking really good. That being said, he has struggled against lefties, but he has been really good on the road. So again, very small sample size. He hasn't really faced that many batters yet in his career. Um, but on the other side, we have Bibby, who's been really shit this year. He's had 2 starts, 10 hits. His first start was fine, but his second one was not great against the Angels. He gave up 8 hits, 7 earned runs, 4 home runs. Really a tough start with a ton of hard contact. And the Royals do have the bats to take advantage of, you know, they've got Salvador Perez, Pescatino, Bobby Witt, Massey, uh, India. These are all people that can hit home runs. That being said, weather-wise, not necessarily going to be that great for home runs. It's going to be blowing in and be really cold. So that maybe does lean more to Bibby, however you want to say it. If I had to pick a side here, I'm going to take the under. Royals have not hit righties well. Guardians can hit lefties, but I think Bubik's really good. Obviously, the Guardians have a really good bullpen, and they finally just had a solid game against the White Sox. So maybe they're feeling a bit better in the confidence of their bats. I would slight lean to the Guardians money line, but my official lean here would be under 7.5, minus 120. And that brings us to game at number 2. We have the Pirates heading on the road to play the Reds. Now, I don't particularly love either of these pitchers. That being said, when I look at the data here, right? If you look at last year, Pittsburgh on the road versus righties to end off the year, they were the third worst, 73 WRC plus. If you look at the Reds at home versus lefties, they were also not very good. Second last with a 54 WRC plus to end off the year. And if you look at again on this year, the Reds versus lefties, bottom 3, 26 WRC plus. Obviously only 133 pitching plate appearances, but that's a kind of a sign that they still can't hit lefties. And then if you look at righties, again, Pitt still struggling, 72, third last in versus right-handed pitching. So these trends are kind of continuing to be kind of questionable. Brady Singer, again, since he's left the Royals, has been not bad for them. He's had 2 starts. He kind of got shelled against Milwaukee, getting pretty lucky to only give up 3 earned runs on 9 hits. But he had still had 7 Ks. The one before that, he had 8 Ks, 7 innings pitched against Texas, give up 0 earned runs. Super elite stuff. So he's been pretty good. And historically, he's been a pitcher that pitches much, much better at home, which is where we're obviously getting him here. So I kind of like that side. If I had to bet a side, it would probably be Reds first 5. Bailey Falter, not looking very good to start off the year. That being said, yes, he's getting up to 7 hits back-to-back, but he had to play the Miami Marlins, not necessarily good bats, but only gave up 2 earned runs in that game, got out of a lot of pickles. And the Marlins have been kind of good this year, unironically. And then you have to play the Yankees, who obviously have elite bats, give up 7 earned runs, 2 home runs. Not a good start for him. That being said, historically, he has been actually much better pitching on the road. Actually, not necessarily not much better, but pretty much even. So again, I don't really trust him, but I also don't really trust the Reds bats versus lefties. Weather-wise, it's going to be really, really cold, and it's going to be blowing left to right, which historically, especially blowing 5 to 10 miles per hour, historically has led to low-scoring games. Don't particularly love either bullpen, but they should be rested for this game. Pretty average bullpens in general this year. If you're looking at the stats, Pittsburgh 3.86 ERA in their bullpen, and the Reds sitting just above them at 3.86. Both of them actually identical bullpen ERA. So very average bullpen so far this year. But yeah, I'm going to take the under 8 in this one. I think weather leans to an under. Both bats are really not that lethal, especially Pittsburgh on the road. And I think both these pitchers, I think Falter's due for a bounce back, and Singer continues to kind of roll against a lineup that strikes out a lot. So under 8.5 is my official bet for this game. All right, moving on to game number 3, we have the Braves heading on the road to play the Rays. Now, the Rays have obviously not been very impressive this year. And the Braves, again, also not very impressive. That being said, if I had to pick a side here, even though the Rays look like they suck, and they definitely have been, they've been hitting righties pretty well, WRC plus wise. Like they are hitting righties with some pretty solid contact. Top 7 in baseball, 287 plate appearances, 126 WRC plus. Compare that to the Braves hitting righties at an 89 WRC plus. Clearly, I think the Braves actually have the better bats right now. And then if you look at the pitching matchup, we're getting Bryce Elder, who's been giving up a ton of hard contact in his career, especially lately. He hasn't had a great start. And Taj Bradley, his ERA isn't great, but his advanced numbers are not that bad. He gave up a pretty bad start against Texas, but that was mostly due to runs. He only gave up 2 hits. I think he bounces back here. He had a much better pitching appearance. Obviously, he played Colorado. Not really impressive, but he still looks like he's a better pitcher at home, especially he was last year. So that's going to be a good thing going for him. He's pretty good against righties, which the Braves right now are a bit more right-heavy. On the other side, I think Bryce Elder hasn't historically been that great of a pitcher, especially on the road. I think last year he had a 5 ERA on the road. Just really not a great pitcher. He's only had 1 start this year, only pitched 4 innings, gave up 3 earned runs, 2 home runs. Not really impressed with what he's done. That was obviously against the Dodgers, obviously more talented bats, but Also, we got to look at the fact that the Braves, it's currently 12:30 a.m. now, and the Braves are still playing. They're going to have to keep going through a bullpen arms if this game doesn't, it's 2 outs. It could very well go to uh, the 11th inning. Going to have to keep going through bullpen arms. And if Elder has a rough start after only pitching 4 innings last time, I think they're going to be in a world of hurt. So I'm going to back the Rays here at home. I think they're going to bounce back after getting shelled after losing like 10-1 to the Angels today, or 11-1, whatever it was. I think it's a good bounce back spot for them. And Braves obviously going to be traveling really late here. They just went out, so they're going to the 11th inning. So that game's going to go at least another 25 minutes. I think that's going to be a tough spot for the Braves here. So give me the Braves money line in this one for sure. That's a bet. Moving on to game number 5, we have the Giants heading on the road to play the Yanks. Now, the Yankees have been pretty good at home. Not necessarily that great on the road. Not the greatest home stretch, going to 7-5 now. While the Giants have been kind of amazing, 9-3 on the year. That being said, the Yankees lineup, for the most part, is very similar to what it was last year, at least to end off the year. And at home versus lefties, the Yankees were a top 3 team last year at home versus lefties. On the other side, we have the Giants, who were also really good to end off the year last year. Road versus righties, they had a WRC plus of 96, so slightly below average, actually. Not as good as I was expecting it to be. That being said, I do think Robbie Ray is a slightly better pitcher than Stroman. I just don't know what to think. I think the Yankees have the better bats at home, but the Giants have also been hitting really well. Kind of due for getting hot again. They had a bit of a rough start having to play in Seattle. Robbie Ray, I don't think he's that good. At least his advanced numbers don't suggest it. That being said, this year he has an xFIP of 585, which is really, really bad, while Stroman has an xFIP of 469. Both pitchers aren't great. If I had to pick a side here, I'm just going to lean with the Yankees at home. I think they want to get back on track. And I think the Giants' bats have cooled off a little bit. And Robbie Ray, I just don't really trust him. I'm a Jays fan. I watched him pitch on the Jays. He has the ability to be lights out. Again, he's very similar to the way that some pitchers that I really like pitch, but I think he just gives up a lot of hard contact, and against the Yankees team that's been using whatever, if you want to say the juice bats, whatever, but it's true that if Robbie Ray is not dealing and he gives up some meatballs, the Yankees are probably the last team that you want to be giving meatballs up to, especially when the Yankees are playing at home. So lean on the Yankees here, but no bet for me. All right, heading on to game number 5, we have the Jays heading on the road to play the Orioles. Obviously, the Jays just had a bit of a heartbreaking loss, losing off of some really bad errors at the end of the game, having a 2-1 lead going into late innings, but they left that series 3-1. I think you could argue that they're feeling a little bit confident in the way that they have been playing, especially as of lately. And Baden Francis, in my opinion, the best pitcher on the Jays. He's been playing really well, and he's really good against lefties. That's kind of his thing. At least it was this year. 31 batters he's faced as lefties, and he's kept them sub 150 in batting average, which is something he wasn't that great at last year. He's actually worse against lefties. So if we can keep both, historically he's kept the batting average of anyone he's faced under 200. He's definitely elite when he's on. He hasn't really been bad on the road or on the way. He's a very consistent pitcher. You know what you're going to get from him. I like that from him. He's had 2 starts. He's given up 2 earned runs in both of them. But he's still solid numbers, only given up 6 hits, 2 walks. Obviously not elite, but that was against the Mets on the road. I think he bounces back here. I'm going to take the Jays first 5. I think Shugano is just a little bit old. I'm not really sure what he's going to be able to do after only, less than a week's rest. I think he pitched 89 pitches last game, got pulled, gave up 5 hits, only 4 Ks. He's not a big strikeout pitcher. And the Jays do strike out quite a lot. And when they're getting the ball in play, that's usually not a good sign, in my opinion, against what I've been seeing from the Jays. Their biggest struggle does seem to be striking out with runners on. So I think the Jays get to them early. I think the Orioles have been really cold. The Jays are just a slightly better team right now, with, in my opinion, the better starting pitcher. That being said, don't trust the Jays bullpen by any means, especially how much they had to use it today. So I'm going to lean with Jays first 5 here. That's an official bet, -110. All right, heading on to game number 6. This will be a bet, but it's going to be a tentative bet, depending on whether or not Quantrill plays. Now, I'm going to do this entire analysis assuming he does play. Quantrill, dog shit. I think everyone knows that. I think he's one of the worst pitchers. And this year, again, he's bad against lefties and righties. Nationals have a pretty good balance, but they do have a lot more lefties than they do righties. And historically, he's done slightly worse against righties, but it's not really a statistical difference. So I hate him. I think he sucks. So I think the Marlins will give up some runs to a Nationals team that just had a good series against the Dodgers. Clearly, a team that can get runs on the board. And then Mitchell Parker, yes, he's had a really good 2 starts, but I don't his core numbers don't scream amazing to me by any capacity. He's had 12 innings pitched, 6 walks, only 7 strikeouts. He's only had 1 earned run, but he's still given up 9 hits and 6 walks in 12 innings. His whip is really kind of showing to me that people are getting on. He's just getting out of innings. And I don't know if that's a recipe for success long term, especially for a guy that struggles on the road. Last year, in 62 innings pitched, he had a 6.61 ERA on the road. So, he just had 2 amazing starts at home. But his first road start, where he historically doesn't play well, I don't love that at all. So, again, I think the Nationals are going to hit Quantrill. I think Miami is going to find some success against Parker. Weather, not, I guess, really amazing. The Marlins have a pretty average ballpark, but we do have, pretty warm weather, mostly clear to start off the game. It's going to be like 80 degrees, so obviously good environment for bats. And winds are blowing slightly weak right to left, which, if you heard me speak about this before, it does historically lead to a lot more runs, especially with righty bats, which we have quite a lot of here with basically the entire lineup here with the Marlins going to be a righties, 8 of 9. So, yeah, I think Nats will get theirs. They just have 2 elite up on offense right now, and the Marlins will have some success here against the lefty and Mitchell Parker. So I'm on the over 8 on this one. That's my official bet if Quantrill plays, and you can check the pin comment. And maybe I'll probably change a side here. But for now, that would be my 4th bet of the day. All right, heading on to the next game, we have the Red Sox heading on the road to play the White Sox. No real interest in betting this game because both these pitchers, I don't know what you're going to get from them. Newcomb's been okay. Davis Martin's been honestly slightly better than Newcomb has been. But again, the Red Sox just had an atrocious, terrible series at home. Maybe they get some confidence after that late inning win. Maybe they're going to feel a bit better. Obviously, the White Sox, they had a really hot start to the year, and they kind of went back to being terrible. That being said, now they're back at home. If you look at the Red Sox numbers versus righties, they haven't been that much better than the White Sox versus lefties. And if you look at Newcomb's biggest problems, historically, he's really struggled against righties. Like if you look at his stats last year, he pitched mostly against righties. He went perfect against lefties, but versus righties, he gave up a batting average of .321. This year, he's giving up a batting average of .423. He struggles with righties, and he's really bad on the road. So if I had to pick a side here, I'm going to take the White Sox first 5 money line at plus 140. I'm not going to bet it because I really don't want to back these White Sox bats at the moment. They're still 2-10, and their bullpen's atrocious. So I don't love Davis Martin enough to want to back him. But I actually think there might be some value here in the White Sox. So check the pin comment. And maybe if this Marlins game ends up changing and I don't bet it, I'm going to switch that bet to White Sox first 5 money line because I do like the plus money on this one. So my official lead for this one is White Sox first 5 money line. If you want, you can just take White Sox first 5 plus half a run at probably minus 115. All right, moving on to the next game, we have the Angels head on the road to play the Astros. Now, the Astros versus righties have been really bad. And I think Kalkanowicz, definitely mispronounced that, he's been kind of shit. And he's been giving up a lot of hard contact. And obviously the Astros still have some elite bats. That being said, Mr. Cock is what I'm going to call him, or Jack. He's had 2 pretty shitty starts, giving up pretty average starts. I guess you could argue they're a bit better, but he played some really shitty bats in the White Sox and the Guardians, so I'm not really impressed. But he has been really good against righties this year. And historically, he's been better against righties and lefties. And as you know, the Astros have only one lefty in Jordan Alvarez. The rest are all righties. So I'm actually going to lean the Angels here. Not going to bet it. I don't think Ronald Blanco is very good. Obviously, he's been better in the past. Um, he's still only 31. He had a pretty decent year last year, but not liking what I'm seeing from him to start. I probably would prefer the under. That's my official bet in this game. I think the fact that both teams haven't been hitting righties very well. Kokonakwiks has been, God, I'm really butchering that. I already know it. Has been whatever. Ronald Blanco has probably due for a bounce back after a tough start. Both lineups very right heavy. And if you look at the weather in this game, it's going to be blowing in. It's going to be warm, but it's still going to be blowing in. So it does kind of go against the hitters here. Yeah, I'm going to take the under 9 as my official lean, but I'm not going to bet this game. All right, moving on to the next game, we have the Tigers heading on the road to play the Twins. Now, there's a lot to like about both of these teams. But honestly, Minnesota has not necessarily looked great. I think we're getting a good price here with the Tigers because of maybe how bad Reese Olson has started off the year. But his advanced numbers really aren't that bad. He was really, really good last year. And I think he's kind of due to have a better day. Obviously, he played the White Sox and he gave up 2 earned runs on 7 hits, 3 walks. Got pretty lucky to only give up 2 earned runs in that game. The game before that, against the Dodgers, again, kind of going to get shelled by the Dodgers when you're playing in their stadium. He had 5 strikeouts, 2 walks, 4 hits, 4 earned runs with a home run, which was kind of the bigger the damage. I think he's going to bounce back here. Historically, he's been actually slightly better on the road, which is where we're going to be getting him here. And then on the other side of the mound, we have, my opinion, David Festa, who didn't even make the official lineup here for the Twins. And he just got shelled in AAA. He played Columbus on April 4th. He gave up 10 hits, 5 earned runs, 2 walks, only 4 strikeouts. That's obviously not great. Like the fact that he got cut and then now he's already struggling in AAA, but they have to call him up here because Pablo Lopez is going to be heading on to the IR. Not great. So I don't think he's good. Detroit is currently the number 1 team this year against right-handed hitters with a WRC plus of 159. They are hitting righties, and now they're going up a guy that's struggling. And they're going to be starting their pitcher who's been struggling. That's due for a bounce back. Again, Twins have been relying on their bullpen, but Detroit's bullpen hasn't really been that bad. You could probably take first 5 in this one as well, but I'm going to kind of trust that hopefully Detroit can keep this win. I kind of just want to see them go a bit longer. They historically have started a little bit slow on the road, so maybe they'll end up hitting Festa a little more in the 4th, 5th, and 6th innings. So don't really want to isolate it. But yeah, actually really like this side for the Tigers, especially at the price we're getting with, in my opinion, the way better pitcher and the better bats. All right, heading on to the next game, we have the Phillies versus the Cardinals. Now, the Phillies, they're still playing. It's 12:52 a.m. Eastern time, and they're going to be playing tomorrow in less than 24 hours. Tough spot for them. Cardinals, obviously Nola has not been good this year, at least to start. You could argue he's due for a bounce back, but typically that happens more on when you're back at home, not when you're on the road. And the Cardinals have been hitting righties really well this year, despite the fact that they look kind of shit. They're top 10 in WRC plus against righties over a pretty significant sample size. So I think the Cardinals have one of the worst bullpens in baseball, so I have no interest in actually backing them. That being said, I am going to take, not officially, but I'm going to lean the Cardinals first 5 here. And the over. I like both basically completely equal. Yeah, looks like the Braves just won, so the Phillies are going to have to go home here on a loss. Definitely, they're probably not very happy about that. 4-2, actually, the Braves just got a home run, so GG's. Yeah, just don't trust this Phillies team on a quick turnaround, considering they're a bit of an older roster, but don't want to take the Cardinals bullpen. So lean Cardinals first 5. Not going to bet it. I don't love Palante that much, but he does get a lot of ground balls. But again, if the Phillies are getting, those ground balls are going down in between players, they can get some base runners early, and they always have the threat of some home runs. So not going to bet that one, but I actually really like it. If there was fewer games, I would probably bet it. All right, and that brings us to, in my opinion, my favorite game of the day. We have the Rockies heading on the road to play the Padres. Now, the Padres, kind of started to get a little bit shittier, but they were, I believe, the first team to get to 10 wins on the year. I'm not sure if the Dodgers actually beat them to it. I don't know who ended up getting there first, but Padres one of the best teams right now in baseball. 10-3. They're going to be up against German Marquez, who his advanced stats kind of suck. Like, yeah, he had 2 decent starts, but he still gave up 6 in his last start against the Oakland. He gave up 6 walks, 5 hits. Got lucky to only give up 3 earned runs. Um, Not really great. And he played the Phillies. Had a pretty good start. 4 hits, no walks, 4 Ks. But he went 6 innings. I don't know what happened in that game, but the Phillies clearly had a lot of ground balls. But historically, he's been really bad on the road. He didn't play much on the road. I'll give him that. But in 2023, he played 15 road games, or 15 innings pitched on the road. He had a 5.4 ERA. Last year, he played 4 innings on the road, had a 6.75 ERA. Now this is going to be his second road start. I'm just not convinced that he's really that good. I think his advanced stats to me tell me that he kind of got a bit lucky. And historically, the Padres have hit him well. They have 109 at bats against German Marquez, and they've gotten 39 hits, 21 RBIs, 7 strikeouts, a .358 average. So they've demolished Marquez over a pretty significant sample size. And their team is likely going to be getting back, in my opinion, one of their best players in Jackson Merrill. He's not in the projected lineup, but as far as I know, he's probably going to be back in the lineup. Even if he's not, I still think the Padres completely crushed this Rockies team. On the other side, they have Nick Pivetta. I would say the Padres, probably their ace after Cease has kind of been getting completely trashed. I would say he's at least their top 3 pitchers. And the Rockies sitting in dead last against righties. Now they're coming out from altitude, going on the road to play this Padres team that has historically been getting a ton of runs, owns Marquez. Now they're playing, in my opinion, their best pitcher, who's a righty, against this lineup that isn't very good. Obviously, the weather is not necessarily phenomenal for runs, and the Padres Stadium isn't great either for getting runs. But again, I don't trust this pitcher. I don't trust their bullpen. Coming from altitude against the Padres team that should hit them really well. Yeah, I really like the Padres run line here at plus 105. It's probably my favorite bet of the day. All right, heading on to the next game, we have the Brewers heading on the road to play the D-backs. Now, obviously, Brewers played the Rockies, so they're going to be coming down from altitude to play this game in Arizona. I think it's going to be a tough spot for them. Obviously, Quintana is going to be his first start of the year, but he's coming up from AAA. He didn't even make the official cut. He's 36. It's going to be his first game. He was decent last year, but he had a pretty slow start last year, if I remember correctly. So I don't really trust him to start, especially on the road against a pretty elite Arizona D-backs team who's been hitting lefties pretty good. If you look at Arizona's stats last year, with a very similar lineup at home versus lefties, they were the best team in baseball with a WRC plus of 157. While on the other side, I don't really trust this D-backs team. If you look at their stats this year versus lefties, they've been pretty mid. Bottom 10 with a 73 WRC plus. Arizona, definitely not as good as they were last year, but still sitting around 98. They have to play some pretty tough lefties. So Eduardo Rodriguez, who looks like the pitcher for the D-backs, he's been okay. He had 2 starts, both pretty below average. Played 5 innings in both against the Cubs and the Nationals. Again, 2 of the hottest bats in baseball. He gave up 4 earned runs, but he had 12 strikeouts in that game. He kind of just got beat up by some bad timed hits, a lot of doubles. I think he's still a way better pitcher here. I think his advanced stats show that he's going to be decent. And he really has been good against lefties. He just struggles against righties. And this Milwaukee team has a pretty balanced lineup. So 4 lefties. I think Eduardo Rodriguez is the better pitcher here. We're getting the D-backs at home. Brewers coming from altitude after a pretty pathetic loss. Maybe they're going to be losing some confidence in their bats a little bit. So I'm going to be on the D-backs here if Quintana ends up actually being the pitcher for. All right, heading on to the third last game and my last bet of the day. We have the Rangers heading on the road against the Mariners. Now, if you know me, which I guess a lot of you probably don't, at least when it comes to baseball, I think DeGrom is the best pitcher in baseball. Obviously, he's coming back. He still needs to really figure out his velocity and kind of mix up a bit, but I think he's elite. one of the best pitchers. Obviously, he's 36 now. He's on the downturn, but Bryce Miller has had some really bad starts this year. He obviously has a 5.73 ERA on 2 starts. That being said, I still think his advanced numbers are decent. He was good last year. He had to play the Giants at home and the Athletics, who both have been pretty good offensively. I think he's going to bounce back here, especially playing back at home, where, again, it's kind of tough to play in Seattle in general. It's definitely a pitcher's ballpark. But last year he was really good at home. He had 96 innings pitched. He had a sub-2 ERA. His Ks were up. His walks were down. I think we're going to get a good bounce back spot for him here. So I think, again, I love both these pitchers. I don't love either of the bats. Rangers, if you look at their stats this year versus righties, it's been pretty mid. They're bottom 5 with a 75 WRC plus over a pretty significant sample size. And Seattle, decent if you look at their 102 against righties, but I just don't like. It's not showing me that. Like when eye test wise, they're 88 WRC plus when hitting at home. It's just a tough ballpark to get runs in. Both these pitchers are elite. Don't really trust the bullpens though, so I'm gonna take the first 5 under 4 for -130 or -125. The line keeps moving, but I'm fan doing it at -130. I love that spot, and the fact that we're getting 4 for the first 5 when the under's at like 6.5 or something seems to be a bit of maybe a mistake. Definitely try to get on that on FanDuel if you can. I would still like it at 3.5 though. All right, second last game we have the Yankees. New York. I think it's the Mets. We have the Mets heading on the road to play the Athletics. This one's weird to me because I liked the over, and then I saw that the over was 10. So I'm like, nah, there's no way I'm betting 10. These bats have been good for Athletics, and Canning and Sears aren't that great, but they both have a decent starts, sub-3 ERAs in their most recent starts. Weather's going to be warm. It's going to be blowing out a little bit, but if I had to pick a side here, I would take the Athletics first 5. They have a lot of talent on this Athletics team this year. Obviously, I don't know if they even made that many ads other than maybe Shea Langelier, if I'm pronouncing that right. Pretty decent starting lineup, so I kind of like them in the first 5 to get 2 at-bats with those starting 5 lineups. Canning, on paper, is decent, but it gives up a ton of hard contact. He used to be one of my favorite pitchers to bet against when I was betting home runs. Obviously, the Mets have an elite lineup. They got Lindor, Soto, Alonso, Vientos. Obviously, guys that can hit bombs. But Sears has been pretty good. And he's a lefty. And the Mets have kind of been struggling against lefties. So, not going to bet this game. But if I had to pick a side, I would take the Athletics in the first 5, plus 110. I think they get to Canning early, and Sears has a decent outing here. And finally, the last game of the day. Oh, so many games. We have Chicago Cubs heading on the road to play the Dodgers. Now, this is going to be an interesting matchup. I'm going to be on the Cubs' first 5 money line here as a lean. I don't really want to fade Yamamoto, but this is the second time now that the Cubs are getting to see Yamamoto. Obviously, they played in the Japanese event. And I don't know, the Cubs, the price at plus 165 for a first 5 seems ridiculous to me. I almost kind of want to bet it just for the sake, the Dodgers are back at home where they haven't lost yet this year. But Boyd is not that bad of a pitcher. He had a really great start. Historically, he's been really good. And the Dodgers cannot hit lefties. They can, but they've had struggles against lefties compared to righties this year. So I think if Boyd can kind of frustrate them a little bit, he's not a bad pitcher. Yamamoto's elite. Maybe Cubs first 5 plus 5. It could easily be a 0-0 game after 5 innings. Who knows? That being said, it's going to be really warm. Winds blowing out. So, again, Yamamoto, despite being everything he does well, he also does give up some hard contact when people do manage to hit his balls. And in this weather in the Dodger Stadium, I think the Cubs could get a couple home runs here off of him, which might bring him over the top. So, I'm not going to bet it, but I do lean Cubs first 5 here. I think the Dodgers have too good of a bullpen this year to take this game all the way, especially at home. The Dodgers seem to figure out ways to win. So I think even if the Cubs were winning after 8, the Dodgers are absolutely live to win that game. So, lean Cubs first 5 money line. All right, and to wrap us up, just as a recap, the bets that I'm taking are the Pirates at the Reds under 8.5, Rays money line, Jays first 5 money line, over 8.5 in the Nationals versus Marlins game if Quantrill plays. Tigers money line, Padres minus 1.5, D-backs money line, and the first 5 under 4 in the Rangers at Mariners game. Games I'm considering betting, but I haven't decided yet, is going to be Cubs first 5 money line, and considering betting the Cardinals first 5 money line. But yeah, those are the 8 games that I've officially bet and 2s that I might be betting, and then all of the leans, which are games that I maybe would bet if there were fewer games, but I'm going to lay off since I don't want to take more than usually 8 games in a day in baseball. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys all tomorrow. Cheers.